went back and looked at the tape and saw the 50 points of the paint that they scored on you, was there anything that's concerning as far as maybe they found something that teams are going to use going forward?
No, I don't think it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like giving secrets and that kind of stuff. I thought we really had a lapse in energy in that second game versus our first game. And talking to our guys, they seem to have handled the Colorado portion of the trip with the altitude and those type of things. It's the only 2 games of altitude. It's only somebody told me that there's only been 2 teams, us and Arizona, that have swept that trip before. So it's the only 2 games that aren't played relatively at sea level. So it is different, and our guys, I think, felt it, and there was a very quick turnaround. Those guys didn't get to bed about 1:30 a.m. after the Colorado game, after we fed them, got them back to the hotel, fly the next day, get to Salt Lake City at 5, and have to play the next day at 4. That's a very quick turnaround, and just talking to our guys, they felt it more in the second game than they did the first game. So I thought our energy level had dropped a little bit of just being consistent in getting the stops that we needed, and then shots that we normally make. We didn't make. We still shot a pretty good percentage, but it wasn't our most efficient offensive night either.
You took Bryce out in the last 6 seconds. Was that to get your best defensive lineup in there?
Not necessarily. I think that changes. I think Bryce has done a really good job. I think that's one of the areas that there's 2 areas where he's been able to obviously flourish and show what he can do off the ball. And then I think he's really improved defensively. I think that's something that he's taken a lot of satisfaction to, and he's done a very good job with it. But we wanted to be long, we wanted to be even more athletic. We were only guarding for 5 seconds, so we went with that lineup. There sometimes he'll be on the floor. There's other times where we need an offensive play and free throw or jump shot or whatever it may be. Lineups can change. We got a lot of confidence in all of our guys, especially those 4 guards. They're just so elite. But instead of putting 4 guards on the floor, we decided to go 2 bigs.
Is that something that afterward you'll talk to him about just to make sure he's okay and check in with him, or you think he doesn't need that?
No, he's so much tougher mentally than that. No, that guy is as tough mentally as it comes. So I don't ever worry about that, whether he's making a big shot, a big free throw, missing a free throw. I know he wants it the next time, and that's just who he is. He's got that kind of DNA in him that he's a tough kid that enjoys the competition, enjoys the big moments. But you can watch him, whether he's on the bench or whether he's on the floor, you can see the demeanor of how he supports this team, because the team's a lot of fun.
Coach, I know when you first came in here, there was a discussion about playing with more tempo, playing with a faster pace, and maybe the first 2 or 3 years that wasn't quite there, but this team seems to be coming.
Well, it was. No, it was there.
Yeah.
The first year. If you look at our tempo, we played at now we're not playing at this tempo, but
sure.
Nobody's played at this tempo in a decade or more.
Yeah.
So I mean, the tempo that we're playing at right now is, if you look at offensive efficiency, we're number 1 in the country by, not just a little.
Mm-hmm.
So this team offensively is elite right now through nearly 20 games. So, but if you compare it to like year 1 and even a little bit into year 2, we were playing at a much quicker tempo than in years past at UCLA. What happens is, then you have a bad year, now everybody wants to talk about defense.
Right.
They weren't talking about that when we got hired. Now it's all about, well, let's find the issues. Well, last year it wasn't just defense. We had issues offensively. There weren't a lot of ways that we could score the ball, and a lot of pressure was put on Isaac and Bryce, and that's why you're seeing them flourish more this year at the offensive end, is because they don't have that pressure on them. And now they've got to be guarded a little bit more cautious. You might prepare for, Bryce is shooting the ball real well, and you might put the best defender on him for a while. Well, you're going to do that, now Isaac's going to get loose. So that's changed this year, and then we're much better defensively, just because our guys, the skill level and the depth and those type of things. But we did play at a very good tempo our first year, and we're playing very similar. We just play so much faster because of the way the ball moves with this team. This team moves the ball like no team I've ever had.
My question was then, how close would you say you are to sort of realizing that initial vision that you came in with as far as playing that sort of up-tempo style?
Well, the recruiting's been really good. We had that one year where we didn't, we missed on a couple one-and-dones, and we paid the price for it. And now this year, you get guys that are potential one-and-dones and have great futures ahead of them. Next year, you look at we're still recruiting that class, but we've got 5 outstanding players coming in next year's class. Could be more, and then the following year is shaping up. That's going very, very well as we mold towards that. So the momentum is good, and the trend is good of now being able to recruit and put those pieces together. It does take some time because there's always questions when there's moves. There's always going to be questions. Well, how are you going to play? Who are you going to schedule? That kind of thing. And we've gotten in a pretty good rhythm here through recruiting. And hopefully, we'll continue to ride that momentum. We're getting a lot of the Southern California kids are coming here, and that's year one. In my opinion, the area wasn't as good as what it's been in the last 3-4 years, and so that attention to that detail of, because really in year one we were behind. We got here in April, and if you're going to get guys that are elite, you got to be recruiting them 1 and 2 years out, and we've now, since being here, we've been able to do that, and so that's been fun.
Do you say then, was recruiting then the main impetus for you behind trying to institute a faster pace style when you came here?
Well, you definitely have to get players that can play that style. You can't play up tempo with plotters. That's hard to do. Yeah. So you have to get guys that can run the floor, and not just run the floor. It's not how hard you run the floor. It's also how quickly you can think. The game gets fast. Like, people might not equate Tom as somebody that is a super fast athlete, but if you watch Tom play, he runs the floor very well. His shot prep is as quick as anybody on our team. He goes to his go-to move in the post. His reaction time has really grown over the last 2 years. So tempo has to do with how fast you can play, playing it the right way and making the right decisions.
So it's the movement.
Go ahead.
The movement to shoot more threes in the NBA and college basketball. Is there more to that than just analytics? Is that the main driving force?
Well, I think made shots helps, and it probably helps the analytic part of it too. You can't, if you're a team that can't make threes, I don't care what the analytics say. I don't think I'd be shooting them. There's some teams that are big and strong and physical, and you just have to feed the post, and you're really trying to get easy twos. And analytics may say, well, that may be hard, but if you got guys that are just jacking it out here and they don't know how to make threes, at some point those analytics are going to catch up to you saying you shouldn't be taking them. This is just a team, and I don't even know if Gigi's made one yet, and yet he's somebody that can shoot it. So I'm waiting for him to fire up a three as well, because all 8 of our, well, not all 8, EK wants to get there and Tom's getting close to getting there, but 6 of the 8 are definitely guys that we're very comfortable shooting the three.
Is that a trend too? Are guys shooting it from further out across basketball?
I dive into the analytics a little bit. How far out that is, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's some guys in the NBA that can shoot it very deep, but then there are guys that probably are shooting it out there that have no business shooting it as far out as they do. But I don't know what that trend is. But I think there is a trend of using the three-point line more effectively and probably a higher usage rate than maybe years past.
Coach, going back to the point about tempo and recruiting, I was curious, do you find that the kids now are sort of more receptive to your pitch when you're going out there and you're able to sell this team and the pace that it plays at and the success it has with that?
Well, now we've been here, we're into year 4, and so they get to see us. And now the interesting part of it that we've been able to notice is that whether it was 2 good years and now we have a bad year, they get to see our coaching staff of how we've dealt good and bad, and that's helped us. That the consistency of how we go about teaching and the consistency of how we relate to players. And I think all you got to do is turn on TV and watch us. This is a fun team to watch. It's a fun team. So as a recruiting standpoint, there are a lot of guys that want to be a part of something like this because it's fun. And you're doing it at an elite place. You're doing it at the best brand in college basketball. So you start putting all those things together, and yeah, there's a lot of positives to the recruiting end.